Hello, everyone. My name is Marco Bortoleto. As a member of the FIG Education Commission, it's a pleasure to present the first seminar of the third series. The very positive feedback we got concerning the previous seminars really encouraged FIG to keep acting in this direction, trying to provide relevant topics and having the participation of very different experts, including scientists, coaches, and gymnasts. It's an honor to present our today's guest from Japan, Mr. Hiroaki Sato. Please, Hiro, welcome.
Hello, Marco. Nice to see you again. How are you?
So, Hiro, I'm fine. I think we are now living in the very different places in the world. I am in Brazil and you are in Japan. So thank you very much to accept our invitation and to be accessible to bring for our community part of your knowledge. Hiro, I know you are a very well-known coach in the world, but I would like to introduce you for our friends a little bit, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much for having me. I feel extremely honored and privileged to be able to talk to you today. And again, thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Mr. Hiro is a current personal coach of Kohei Ushimura, a very, very important gymnast in Japan and all worldwide. He's a national coach for men's artistic gymnastics and have been participating in several international competitions, including various world championships. He has received multiple recognitions, including the FIG Coaching Brevet and also the Excellent Coach Performance Award in 2018 and a recognition from the Minister of Education in 2019. I know you have a very important experience as a coach in Australia. Could you talk a little bit about this for us?
Thank you very much for such a nice introduction. Yes, I used to live in Australia. I worked in the Gymnastics Queensland High Performance Centre in Brisbane specifically. I worked there for 3 years. I learned a lot of gymnastics skills and coaching skills, and I had a great time. And I came back to Japan the end of 2016 to become Uchimura's coach. And now I'm working as a national coach and also his current personal coach.
So, sounds excellent. As a gymnast, I heard you also had the experience to be coached by Nikolai Andrianov. Is it correct?
Yes, it is correct. I was incredibly fortunate to be able to have that experience, and that was a memorable moment.
Wow, that's really, really nice. I think you combine the different experiences in different countries, learning from different coaches, from also different expertises. So it's one more time, it's an honor to us to have you as an expert for our seminars. So I would like to give the floor to you to present for our community today the topic, the Yurchenko preparation and development. Thank you very much, and please go ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is Hiroaki Sato. I'd like to start this presentation by thanking FIG and FIG Education Commission for giving me the opportunity to talk. It is such an honor to be able to be a part of FIG online seminar series. And so I will do my best to deliver informative content to the gymnastics community. So today's topic is Yurchenko preparation and development. Yurchenko is a household name in gymnastics, which is round of entry vault. So I will break down Yurchenko into smaller pieces today, and I hope it is applicable to both men's and women's gymnastics community. So in this presentation, I'm going to explain the skill first. I'm going to show you the video of one of the ideal models of Yurchenko layout, and then we go through the mechanical understanding and physical and technical preparations, progression drills and key coaching point, and then common errors and corrections. Then finally, I'm going to mention safety consideration. So But of course, there are so many different techniques and methods to practice Yurchenko. So please see this presentation as just one of the examples. So first, let's have a look at the Yurchenko layout performed by Kohei Uchimura. As you can see, it's very beautiful Yurchenko there. Because he does this as a warming up, he isn't trying to stick landing, but obviously if you want to use the Yurchenko in a competition, you need to stick landing. So it takes only like 5 seconds from the first step of the run until the landing, but there are so many key elements behind it. Here is another video. As you can see, very fast run up and technically precise round off, and here aggressive takeoff, hip lift, shoulder flexion happens simultaneously, strong hand contact, and layout. So let's talk about mechanics, and then we can move on to the physical preparations next. So in the run, you want to have maximum linear kinetic energy on the way to the table. And hurdle and lunge, you want to maintain maximum horizontal velocity. And round off, the aim of the round off is to transfer max horizontal velocity from forward to backward. And dynamic snap action makes it possible for you to arrive at the springboard leaning slightly forward and leaving in vertical. You can see the springboard is compressed, and to take off you need to have the rigid body for the most effective force application, and hip lift and the shoulder flexion raise your body and accelerate backward rotation. Then hand contact. Again, you need to maintain the rigid body for the most effective force application, because if your body is softer than its surface, the energy is going to leak. So you need to stay rigid. And as you can see, this vertical line, ideally, take off at the table, leaving the table prior to your center of mass reaching the vertical line, which is very important. And in this weekend's picture shows Yurchenko 2.5 twist, but today's topic is Yurchenko, so I'm not going to touch on the twisting phase. And so in the air, just bring your arms down to decrease the moment of inertia and increase angular velocity. And in preparation for landing, you want to open your arms to increase the moment of inertia and decrease angular velocity. And in landing, you flex your knees to attenuate the force to 0. So when it comes to Yurchenko specific physical preparations, I take 4 things into consideration. The first is speed, because everything comes from running. And then second is strength, because you need to have power and you need to be strong enough to resist against the force. And then flexibility. In this particular skill, hip extension and shoulder flexion are quite important. And then finally, the coordination. You need to understand where you are in the air. You need to understand how to manipulate your body. So here are some examples of physical preparation exercises. The first one is speed. The importance of developing running technique is often overlooked. So what we do is to set up the visual reference on the runway, the bolting strip, and what we focus on is reflexive action of the legs. What I mean by that is if you bring your leg down very, very aggressively, the other leg will come through quicker. So we need to maintain a good rhythm to keep moving forward. And then once you gain control and the coordination, we can move on to the next one, which is we still have the visual reference on the sport strip, but we add speed. So in this time, we focus on fast rotation of the legs. And also make sure to have the pelvis is in the right position, I mean in neutral position. In order to achieve this, we need to develop very strong core muscles like posterior and anterior chain muscles. But I'm gonna talk about the core strengths later. So when it comes to leg strengths, I was having trouble deciding which one I pick, but this one will be the most basic, but it's very important because in jump, you need to activate explosive lower body muscle, and in landing, you need to, attenuate landing force. So you need to be strong enough to resist against the force, so you need to have adequate strength level to support external load. And so always make sure to have proper landing position, and head should be neutral and back should be flat to prevent back injury. So this one is more gymnastics specific. We call it handstand snap down. And that aim of this exercise is to perform dynamic snap action without losing body tension. So it is directly related to like round off, take off, or backhand spring. It's very important to develop those muscles. So more like a whole body coordination. But there are so many different variations. So you can continue to do handstand, take off, jump onto the box, and then repeat like 10 times or 20 times in a row and things like that. And also, if the box is low, it requires more aggressive snap action to take off vertically. So, really good exercise, I believe. So the other exercise that I want to touch on is Nordic hamstring exercise, because we need to have a high level of eccentric strength to control our landing and also to minimize the risk of injury. And so it is highly effective when it comes to injury prevention with your knees. And the goal is to achieve maximum loading of the hamstrings during the eccentric stage. So lean forward as slowly as possible to touch down the floor and get back to the original position. So let's talk about the core strengths. And as you can see on your left hand side, targeting towards anterior chain muscle, and on your right hand side, targeting towards posterior chain muscles. And in this exercise is quite popular in my country, and this movement can relate to any apparatus in gymnastics. So this one shows the static hold, because like I mentioned previously, the gymnast needs to be able to resist against the force during the rotation. So this one is really good exercise, and the coach can put extra pressure by moving up and down a little bit if necessary. And as you can see, it is exactly the same body position in the air. So let's talk about flexibility. So hip extension and shoulder flexion are quite important in this skill. And so this is just typical hip joint stretch, and targeting towards the osseous muscles. And the other one is, of course, the shoulder flexion. So grab your stick with supinated grip and slowly push down towards the floor and targeting towards the latimus dorsi. And when it comes to upper body strength, it's more like the coordination, but this one would be really good exercise, and maybe it's a little bit advanced, but the coach can assist, by standing next to the gymnast or in front of the gymnast. And the important point is to keep your elbow straight and maintain, rigidity throughout. And it can be done on the springboard with coach's assist. And then the other one is coordination. So the aim of this exercise is to imitate body action at the hand contact phase. The important point is to look at the ball, and the ball doesn't have to be heavy. So just need to focus on the quality of the movement. Don't close the shoulder. Don't close the shoulder. Just use chest. Let's move on to the technical preparation. And obviously, the round off would be critical skill to perform Yurchenko layout because the round off can determine your Yurchenko performance. So I think the learning precise round off is just as important as doing physical preparations. So please have a look at the round off. So as you can see, you shouldn't be excessively leaning forward in hurdle, and the hurdle should be upright and knees up and cover your ears in hurdle. And those three things can create your upper body stiffness prior to the hand contact. And when it comes to hands placement, it should be ideally on a straight line, but it depends on your preference, and also as long as the energy is not leaking, that's okay. So let's have a look at the front view, and you see in snap down action you want to touch down as soon as your hands leave. So in his case, he isn't trying to maintain hollow shape, and if anything, he aggressively packs down to achieve ground contact and take off. Okay, so now we can finally move on to the progression drills, and I've decided to introduce 5 steps to take, and the aim of taking those 5 steps is not only to achieve Yurchenko layout, but also to increase the possibility to challenge advanced skills in the future like Yurchenko double twist or 2.5 twist in the future. Okay, so the first step, the equipment that we need is obviously the springboard and the safety collar and hand mat, and ideally pit or very soft mat or very safe environment. So in the first step, the very fast run and round off back layout into the pit. And so the key coaching point is, rigid body at the moment of hand contact of round off, assuming that you are already capable of doing precise round off on the floor. So aggressive snap action leads to explosive takeoff. And so in this time, you just need to focus on the height of back layout. You don't need to worry about the fast rotation, just need to take off vertically and very high back layout into the pit. In the second step, we need raised mat. And at this stage, actual bolting table is not necessary, but as long as you can cover the surface by the soft mat for safety, that's really good. So in step 2, and the round off back layout onto raised mat. So the key coaching point is identical to the step 1 drill, but the main objective of this step 2 drill is to eliminate the fear of the fast run approach towards bolting table, because it's quite scary at the beginning and learning towards the bolting table, and especially round off entry. So please take your time to get used to it. And also this stage, you don't need to worry about the fast rotation. Stay rigid, very precise, very high back layout onto the raised mat. So in step 3, we place the soft mat against the bolting table. Because in this stage, we start thinking about fast rotation. So if you start thinking about the fast rotation, the gymnast may drastically change the direction of takeoff. So for this reason, we set the soft mat against the bolt for safety. So in step 3, round off tempo Sato onto raised mat. I mean very fast rotation of back layout and onto the raised mat. And so the key coaching point is to have very fast hip lift and rigid body. So those two can contribute to very fast rotation of your back layout, and the head should be neutral and arms should be in front of you. And then in step 4, we add shoulder flexion without losing body tension. I mean, without sacrificing, body tension. So in this stage, the main focus is still hip lift. So you don't need to worry about the strong hand contact. So in step 5, you finally combine hip lift and aggressive shoulder flexion. And at the moment of hand contact, please look at the table in order to avoid, the disorientation. And if the timing is correct, you can automatically block the table and rotate without trying to make, back layout. So as you can see in this, the soft mat on the vaulting table, just for safety, and also reduce the impact on your wrist. So in the final step, and do the Yurchenko into the pit or very soft surface. But in this video shows, he does the Yurchenko layout in the competition standard. But of course, you can start from the very safe environment, like into the pit, very soft mat. And if you feel confident enough to perform Yurchenko, you can move on to a little bit harder surface, eventually the competition standard like this. And then a key coaching point is after the hand contact, bring your arms down to increase rotation. And after the rotation, look at the floor, I mean the ground to spot landing. Okay, so let's talk about the common errors and the corrections. I can't deny the fact that it is highly contextual. I mean, like every gymnast is different. So I will mention some of the frequent issues, I mean the errors that we see, and I'd like to suggest some correction drills. And so the first one is, the round of entry is inconsistent. I mean, the takeoff position is different each attempt. So in that case, we can go back to the technical preparations, which is round off onto a little bit higher surface. I mean, and then we can go on to the step 1 drill, which is a round off back layout into the pit. And to always make sure that your body is not crooked at the moment of takeoff, and also the center of mass is always right. And the next one is, the round of snap action is too slow. I think this is because maybe possibly because of the physical preparedness. I mean the lack of physical preparedness. We can go back to the the handstand to snap down exercise like I showed you previously. And you need to investigate what's the main cause, and if the gymnast doing correctly or not, and always trying to make sure the precise exercise execution. So the other one is contact phase. So the contact to the table is inconsistent, not being able to touch the table or accidentally, hit the table with bent arms or even your head. So in that case, you can always get back to the progression drills, like for example, steps 3 and 4 and 5. As you can see at the bottom of this presentation, I mean the slide, you see what step 3, 4, 5 drills were. And always we need to make sure that gymnast is confident enough to aggressively flex the shoulders without hesitation. That's very important to consider. And finally, the disorientation after hand contact. So in a case, again, like get back to step 5 drill to make sure to look at the table and after the completion of hand contact, and also you can utilize a trampoline. So this video shows double layout into the pit. So what I want you to pay attention to is his head position and he is deliberately looking at the ground after the first rotation is completed at this moment, and here is the second rotation. So this movement is exactly the same as Yurchenko layout. Shoulder flexion, brings arms down and rotate. So if you have an access to the trampoline, I recommend you to utilize it. Okay, so finally, let's talk about safety aspect. And please consider the training load and intensity to avoid overuse injury, especially Yurchenko is such a high impact activity on your wrist and elbow. And so always make sure the appropriate number of attempts and also the appropriate training hours and so on. And also it's very important to take a step-by-step approach, and don't be afraid of taking a step back if something's not going well. And then finally, every gymnast is different, and so of course it's very important to stick with a plan, but at the same time it's also important to be flexible. I mean, to be able to adjust new techniques and methods, seek help. And I'm always learning. I learn every day. I still have a lot of things to learn, and so I'd like to hear your opinions as well. And so I'd like to conclude my presentation by showing the Yurchenko 2.5 twist performed by Kohei Uchimura. So this is Kohei Uchimura at the FIG Friendship and Solidarity competition last November in Tokyo. So this doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time to get there, but the foundations prepare you for the future. That's what he said. And so I'd like to say a huge thank you, and thank you so much for your attention. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope you have found my presentation useful. And thank you very much. So I will hand over to you.
Thank you so much for the excellent presentation. I have no doubt that all the coaches will appreciate so much this information you bring to us. So, Hiro, we still have some time. I would like to have a very short conversation with you.
Yes, of course, please.
As a gymnast, have you had the chance to perform the Yurchenko vault?
Yes, I did. Actually, I performed Yurchenko when I was a gymnast. I must admit I wasn't really a good gymnast, but I managed to perform Yurchenko with some twist for quite a bit of time. And yeah, that was relatively easy skill for me in comparison with Kaz or Tsuk.
Excellent. Do you think the Yurchenko can be considered a revolution for artistic gymnastics discipline?
Yes, I do. I think nobody had expected to see Yurchenko before she performed.
Is there any special advice regarding physical conditioning to increase the efficiency and safety in the Yurchenko vault?
Let me think. Well, I actually asked Uchimura about the same question this morning, and he said to me that the core strength is the most important physical conditioning when it comes to performing Yurchenko well. The reason for it is because we need to have strong core to block the table and then goes up to the air. So he said that core conditioning is very important. And he also said that improving area awareness is also important because we want to avoid accident. You want to get lost. You don't want to get lost in the air. So we want to improve air sense by practicing trampoline. Any activities fine, like stick comp or add-ons, and any trampoline activity will do to help you to improve air sense. So those two things are quite important.
Thank you so much. That's exactly what we are trying to communicate with our community. So finally, as a coach, can you say what's the biggest challenge to teach Yurchenko for younger gymnasts, in your opinion?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is the psychological fear because, Yurchenko, we can't really see the vaulting table at the moment of takeoff. When I was doing Yurchenko, I was scared of doing Yurchenko because I was terrified of doing round off back handspring. And so just take a step-by-step approach is very important. Like I mentioned in my presentation, just make sure the soft and the safe environment and just step by step. And that's the only way to get over the fear.
So I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Hiroaki Sato, for the excellent presentation. And I hope the FIG community can enjoy this and the following seminars we will deliver soon. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure and an honor to have such younger coach and very important person in the world of gymnastics. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
So, my dear friends, we would like also to thank all the FIG staffs and authorities to be involved in this project. Together, we can make gymnastics even better. Thank you for your attention and see you in the next seminars. Bye-bye.